Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of BTTH Rebirth of Emperor Yang episode number 176 based on novel. So let's start. The sudden changes in the field shocked many people, and the fierce battle in the battle circle stopped. Everyone looked up to the sky and saw an old man in hemp robe standing high above the sky, overlooking the people below. Who is this? What a terrible momentum. At this moment, this is the only thing that can be thought of in the hearts of the people present. This sudden guy, relying on this momentum and pressure alone, made the people present almost out of breath. Even Xiao Yan felt a great pressure in the face of this pressure. At this moment, everyone in the field stared at the figure above the sky with dignified faces, and didn't dare to relax for a moment. Under the eyes of the people below, the old man in hemp robe also slowly lowered down. Immediately, many people present immediately recognized the identity of the latter. This old man in hemp robe is one of the four main sects, the leader of withered leaf sect, Yi Luotian. Leaves fall into the sky. How could it be him? It's unexpected that this guy knows his strength is at the bottom of the four major doors, so he's ready to start first. What now? We are the same people of the four major departments. Maybe he can save our lives. Isn't this guy famous for being charitable? After seeing that the visitor was the leader of Kuyezong, one of the four main sects, the faces of the four families present immediately became happy and could have the action of this adult. Today, even if Xiao Yang has great means, he can only be caught back. Leaves fall into the sky. Seeing the arrival of Yi Luotian, Xiao Yang couldn't help but tighten his heart slightly. From this guy, he vaguely felt a strange smell of several people. That smell seemed to be floating, but it was used by Yi Luotian. It seems that Xiao Yang has seen it somewhere. Hehe, Xiao Yang, this is our second meeting. I clearly feel that the person in front of me is not a kind person, but looking at the way the latter speaks, the expression on his face seems quite kind, as if he is an ordinary old man who is not familiar with the world. However, under the powerful momentum of the latter, no one here really dares to think so. After all, Yi Luotian is as famous as the four sect leaders. If you really want to start, even Xiao Yang is not sure that you can fight him. Lord Yi, are you here to catch me? Xiao Yang's face showed a dignified color. He couldn't even notice the exact strength of the latter, and how to compete with it. Hehe, Xiao Yang, you don't have to be nervous. I just don't want to see so many deaths and injuries in the same door. After all, they are all the people in the four major doors. I can't bear to see them die. Hearing Xiao Yang's words, Yi Luotian smiled slightly, and the smile looked quite kind. However, Xiao Yang was full of ridicule. He couldn't bear it. There was almost no water and fire between the four major sects. They were eager to annex each other. What kind of feeling with the same sect was bullshit? The four major sects fought against each other. Why should they say the same sect? For what Xiao Yang thought, Yi Luotian naturally didn't know. Even if he knew, he just smiled. A pair of old eyes full of kindness and smile swept over the people below one by one. Yi Luotian smiled, then waved his sleeve robe, and countless streamers poured down immediately, and then suspended in front of the people present and turned into a pill. Hehe, take these pills to heal your wounds first. It's time to stop this endless battle. Yi Luotian smiled slightly, but when he saw that all the people present were staring at the pill in front of him and did not move, he knew that these people must be worried and smiled in his heart. Then he smiled again and said, "These pills are all level 4 pills. If you don't take them, I'll take them back." Yi Luotian smiled and immediately raised his sleeve robe. It seemed that he really wanted to take back the pill. Then the next moment, everyone in the field was very excited when they heard that it was a fourth order pill. Fourth order pill, this is fourth order pill. They can't even see it, let alone eat it. Now there is such a good opportunity in front of them. Why do these people refuse? Immediately, among the four families present, except Bai Ying and the 6 strong fighting emperors, the others did not hesitate to swallow the pill suspended in front of them, as if they were afraid that Yi Luotian would seriously take it back. The pill melted at the entrance and quickly turned into an extremely surging force, which poured into their bodies and attacked all over their bodies. Sure enough, however, with the effort of a short film, the injuries on the people present recovered quickly with the naked eye. Besides their surprise, the surging force made their breath rise suddenly, and in a twinkling of an eye, all the people present who swallowed the pill broke through 1 star at this moment. As for the strong at the level of 9.5 Emperor, although their strength has not broken through, they have reached the peak of the later period of 9.5 Emperor. This pill is extraordinary. The appearance of this scene also made the strong fighters of the 4 families move in their hearts. After making sure that those who swallowed the pill did not have any abnormalities, they no longer hesitated, swallowed the pill in front of them, and then, but for a moment, the breath of the 6 strong fighters increased by 1 star. However, Xiao Yan, Bai Ying, Tian Ying and others around him at the moment are still motionless. Although these people were attracted by the pill, they seemed to be waiting for Xiao Yang's action. The latter didn't eat, and they didn't dare to rest assured. Hehe, Xiao Yang, your 2 friends seem to have been seriously injured. You can't ignore them if you don't eat. Yi Luotian seems to see this. On Xiao Yang's side, everything is led by Xiao Yang. He doesn't eat, and others won't eat. Hearing the speech, Tianying and a Bao both frowned, and Xiao Yang couldn't help looking at the burning lion. Despite the help of the 3rd order pill, Zhuo Lin's sword has hurt the root, and it is particularly difficult to recover. Relying on the 3rd order pill alone can't play much role, but if it's the 4th order pill, it's different. After hesitating for a long time, the people of the 4 families over there all looked like living dragons and tigers. Not only their strength increased greatly, but also their combat strength recovered a lot under the action of pills. Brother Xiao Yang, why don't I try one first? At this time, Tianying also knows that the injuries in Yang Lion's body can't be underestimated. If they don't pay attention, it may affect their future cultivation path. Therefore, Tianying, as the eldest brother, can't care much. Wait, before you eat your pill, you'd better check it for me. Lord Yi also said that the 4 main doors are one. We are not birds of a feather with them. The pill can be eaten, but let me check it first. Just when Tianying was about to take the pill, Xiao Yang suddenly made a big move. The pill suspended in front of several people quickly fell into Xiao Yang's hands and was held in the palm of Xiao Yanni's hand. After a few short breaths, Xiao Yang returned the pill in his hand, smiled and said, "Take it. I've checked it. There's no problem with the pill." At the same time, Xiao Yang's eyes also paused on Yi Luotian. In the depths of his eyes, an imperceptible light flashed in an instant. When the latter saw this, he showed a kind smile on his old face, smiled and nodded, as if he was quite satisfied with it, but no one knew what idea he was making in his heart. A few people ago, Xiao Yang took the lead in taking the pill. Later, Bai Ying and others took the pill one after another. Sure enough, in a short time, the strength of Xiao Yang and others also increased. The strength of Yang Lion, Xiong Gang and a Bao both entered the 2-star fighting emperor, and Tianying became the 3-star fighting emperor in the early stage. Even Bai Ying's strength also increased to the early stage of the 5-star fighting emperor. The arrival of this surprise made Tianying and others very excited. Without intuition, they also raised their feelings for the falling leaves. It's Bai Ying. Although his strength has improved, he is cautious. He is also a little skeptical about the change of his breath at the moment. After all, there can't be a real free lunch in the world. Only he knows what Yi Luotian is thinking. Looking back at Xiao Yang, he was already at the peak of the late 4-star fighting emperor. With the help of this so-called pill, the breath in his body rose all the way to the middle of the 5-star fighting emperor. Even from the late stage, he was only 1 step away. Hehe, unexpectedly, this closure has brought a lot of surprises. Xiao Yang grinned. He looked so harmless to people and animals. He seemed to be unprepared for everything around him. In the sky, Yi Luotian saw Xiao Yang and others taking pills, and the smile on his old face became stronger and stronger. In the end, it was a little distorted, making the original amiable old man look a little scary. Hee, I've also taken the pill. Lord, you can now tell me what your real purpose of coming here is. Suddenly, Xiao Yang stared at Yi Luotian with both eyes and asked meaningfully, Gaga, this is natural. Now that the goal has been achieved, tell the truth. This is my style of doing things. Yi Luotian smiled grimly, and the look on his old face quickly became gloomy. The kindness of the previous moment suddenly dissipated. At the moment, it looks like a fierce ghost laughing, which makes people tremble. Dead leaf grass, get up. Yi Luotian's voice just fell. Suddenly, in addition to Xiao Yang and his party, in the cyclone space of all the 4 families, a withered yellow plant suddenly grew out of it. In just a few breathing times, it had occupied these cyclones in the human body. The withered yellow plants grew rapidly in the bodies of the 4 families, but in the twinkling of an eye, they had occupied their cyclone space, and even several main meridians were entangled by the plant. For a long time, everyone present felt that everything in their body was actually under the control of the strange plant. What's going on? What is this? Yi Luotian, what have you done to us? In the twinkling of an eye, the people of the 4 families suddenly felt a burst of panic. Their internal organs have been controlled by this plant. Doesn't it mean that their lives are also controlled by this plant? Gaga. Now I can tell you that what you just swallowed is the dead leaf bug that I personally refined for you. Once this thing grows in your body, it will be connected with your soul. Your life and death are all connected with the dead leaf bug. If the dead leaf bug dies, you will die, and the dead leaf bug is controlled by me, so if these people want to live, they must listen to the real orders. If there are rebels, there is no amnesty for killing. At this moment, Yi Luotian finally revealed his nature. When those below heard about it, they were even more frightened. They didn't expect that the good thing sent to the door would actually send their names to others. Yi Luotian, don't you know we are from Tianjian sect? Once something happens to us, Tianjian sect will come to your sect and wipe your withered leaf sect out of the western regions. The 4-star fighting emperor of the Hu family came again. He firmly believed that there was Tianjian gate behind him. In front of Yi Luotian, no matter how crazy he was, he could not dare to fight against Tianjian gate. Bang! Die! However, in the next moment, at the moment when the words fell in the mouth of the 4-star fighting emperor, his body also exploded abruptly and turned into a blood mist in the sky. Tianjian gate. Gaga, Gaga. Will become my running dog of Kuyezong sooner or later. The rest of you, who dares not to follow, can stand up. Yi Luotian's face is ferocious and his eyes are full of disdain. Now, all these human bodies in front of him have been planted with dead leaf insects. As long as he doesn't obey, he can make these people explode and die instantly. Their lives are now in his hands. As Yi Luotian's words came out, the people below also immediately turned pale and became silent. Although almost everyone had an unwilling anger in their hearts, they could not help but silence at the thought of the tragic end of the Hu family's 4-star emperor fighting strong man just now. Gaga, Gaga. In the sky, leaves fall into the sky and laugh like no one, but it's also at this time. They dare not turn against you, I dare. Xiao Yang stood proudly, stared at Yi Luotian with uninhibited eyes, and showed no fear. Xiao Yang's action made the Tianying people behind him suddenly change their faces. Even Bai Ying and the others of the 4 families couldn't help but look shocked. Xiao Yang, don't be impulsive. Mr. Xiao Yang. Compared with Tianying's excitement, Bai Ying is much calmer. He knows that with Xiao Yang's heart, he can never risk death to make the move just now, but since he dares to speak, he must have his own grasp. Oh! Gaga, Xiao Yang, it is said from the outside that you are cunning and tight. Even the strong man fighting the emperor has to fight 12 points in front of you, but in my opinion, it is just so. Hearing the speech, Yi Luotian sneered. All the people who swallowed the pill just now had been planted with dead leaf insects by him. Xiao Yang dared to resist. It was like looking for death. However, when Yi Luotian tried to control the so-called dead leaf GU in Xiao Yang's body, he was shocked to find that there was no change in the latter's body except for the breath of cultivation. His dead leaf GU doesn't exist in Xiao Yang at all. What's going on? Yi Luotian's eyes suddenly coagulated and his mind moved, so he went to feel the dead leaf insects in Tianying's body, but the final result was that his dead leaf insects disappear. Hehe, your GU is really powerful, but... Xiao Yang smiled coldly, stretched out his hand, spread out his 5 fingers, and his palm trembled slightly. Suddenly, he only heard a puff, and the raging forest white fire immediately rose. The temperature between heaven and earth also increased rapidly. Under my strange fire, any poison is useless. Strange fire appeared, and Yi Luotian suddenly realized that he only cared about his dead leaf Jiyu, but he forgot that Xiao Yang still had strange fire and other gods. Strange fire is the power from heaven and earth to Yang. Any evil poison has no effect on it. No wonder Xiao Yang dares to swallow his dead leaf Jiyu. It seems that the reason why there is no change in Tianying is also because of Xiao Yang. Well, you really deserve to be Xiao Yang. It's not just brute force that can make you famous in the western regions, but even so, you have to go back with me today. Yi Luotian snorted coldly. Immediately, the old eyes of the shadow swept over the others of the four families, and ordered in a cold tone. Go up, give it to me. Catch Xiao Yang. Today, I will personally poison you. At the command, even if the people of the four families are unwilling, their lives are already in the hands of others. In order to survive, they can only act according to the command. The strength of the 6 strong fighting emperors has improved a lot, which makes them feel more secure in the face of Xiao Yang and his people. Previously, they were unable to let go because of the gap between the strength of the two sides. Now, except for one Xiao Yang, the strength of others in the teams of the two sides is balanced, so they naturally have no more fear. The 6 people set off together and divided into 6 directions. They surrounded Xiao Yang and his party. They thought about it. 6 terrible momentum condensed into one on this half of the sky and pressed Xiao Yang and others. Seeing this, without waiting for Bai Ying and others around him, Xiao Yang suddenly gave a cold hum. If he was allowed to face Yi Luotian, he might be afraid of it, but if this group of people were still that sentence, he had perfect confidence and left them here. Ignoring the pressure of the 6 people on the other side, Xiao Yang's right hand poked out, and the fighting spirit in his body quickly gathered in the palm. Immediately, a black dot the size of a thumb slowly condensed out. Spirit level advanced fighting skill. Spirit level advanced fighting skill, Heaven's creation palm. With a low drink, it was sent out at the bottom of Xiao Yang's heart. Then, Xiao Yang turned his right hand down and pressed it in the void in front of him. Da Tian Zhaohua Palm was originally just a heaven-level fighting skill. Since Xiao Yang was promoted to the rank of semi-emperor strong, he has rarely used this fighting skill again. However, after this breakthrough in fighting the emperor, in this process, Xiao Yang was lucky to understand some things, which also made Xiao Yang's understanding of Heaven's creation palm more in-depth. This understanding not only enabled Xiao Yang to have a deeper understanding of the power of Da Tian Zhaohua Palm, but also made him push through the old and bring forth the new on the basis of Da Tian Zhaohua Palm. After integrating a lot of Xiao Yang's own understanding, he also incorporated the power of the road into it, so that the product level of Daishan Zhaohua Palm itself also increased. From now on, Daishan Zhaohua Palm has been comparable to the advanced fighting skills of the spirit level. The advanced fighting skills of the spirit level can be displayed by Xiao Yang's current cultivation accomplishments. Those powers can be called destroying the sky and destroying the earth. A palm fell, and the void in front of Xiao Yang suddenly collapsed. Then, a dark and deep black aperture quickly spread from the void pressed by Xiao Yang's palm, just like a flood, and quickly spread in all directions. Seeing this, the 6 strong fighting emperors who were surrounded by Xiao Yang and his party immediately tightened their hearts, quickly mobilized their fighting spirit, displayed their fighting skills, and blasted away towards the rapidly spreading black aperture in front of them. Boom! The light of the 6 fighting skills swept out at a lightning speed. Even the void was forcibly torn along the way. The sound of the explosion of the air continued, and then collided with the painted black aperture. Hiss, hiss. The two touch each other, but the fierce collision sound in everyone's imagination has not spread. On the contrary, the light of the 6 fighting skills is like suddenly rushing into a bottomless black hole without any energy fluctuation. It just disappears. Even the diffusion speed of the black light circle has not affected a penny. What? Seeing this strange scene, the faces of the 6 people suddenly changed dramatically, and their eyes were full of incredible looks. The fighting skills of the 6 strong fighting emperors, 3 4-star fighting emperors and 3 5-star fighting emperors, such a lineup, I'm afraid even the ordinary 6-star strong fighting emperors dare not touch easily. At least, the ordinary 6-star strong fighting emperors can't go on with the attack just now, but with such a terrible lineup, the joint action of the 6 strong fighters seemed to have no backhand at all under the strange black aperture. How is this possible? At this moment, Rao, with Julien's heart, couldn't help but scream. The scene in front of him was really unimaginable. Not to mention him, the other 5 people, and Yi Luotian, who was standing high in the sky, were also shocked. As a 5-star fighting emperor, Xiao Yan's power is more than several times that of these people. Such combat power is terrible. This guy is really just a fighting emperor? The same question once again echoed in the minds of these strong fighters. Once upon a time, when Xiao Yan was only a half-strong fighter, someone doubted him. Now, people doubt him more. No one can believe that the young man in black in front of him is really just a strong fighter. The disappearance of the 6 fighting skills did not stop the spread of the black aperture, but in the twinkling of an eye, the painted black aperture had spread to the feet of the 6 fighting emperors. At that time, several people were greatly frightened and couldn't care so much. Their bodies were frantically bombed towards the aperture in front of them, and their bodies hurried back. It seemed that they were afraid that they would be swallowed up by the strange lacquer black aperture like that fighting skill. It's too late to run now. Seeing the 6 people running away madly, Xiao Yan sneered. Immediately, the palm of his hand shook violently, and the diffusion speed of the black aperture also accelerated abruptly. At the same time, an extremely terrible suction also surged out from the painted black aperture, frantically tearing everything between heaven and earth. Under this terrible attraction, the bodies of the 6 strong fighters who had retreated rapidly immediately slowed down, and the distance between them and the black aperture also shortened rapidly. Seeing that the black aperture was about to climb up their bodies, a sense of fear from the depths of their souls finally climbed up to their hearts at this moment. The 6 people knew very well that if they were sucked into the aperture, even if they were the strong 5-star fighting emperor, they would not be able to come out alive. At this moment, they finally know clearly the gap between themselves and Xiao Yan. The latter didn't take them to heart at all from the beginning. No matter half-emperor or fighting emperor, Xiao Yan is absolutely invincible in the same level. His so-called bullying less with more is like a child's play in the eyes of the latter. No. When the black aperture climbed onto their bodies, the 6 people almost screamed in panic at the same time. Everyone roared wildly, and the fighting spirit in their bodies poured out wildly regardless of everything, hoping to resist the spread of the black aperture. However, all these seemed so powerless. On one side of the 4 families, 6 strong fighting emperors were swallowed by the painted black aperture one by one, first legs and feet, and then waist. Lord Yi, help us. At the critical moment of life and death, the 6 people pinned their last hope on Yi Luotian. It was a pity that Yi Luotian was indifferent until the moment of their death. A pair of dark old eyes stared at Xiao Yan, and a trace of killing intention slowly emerged in the depths of their eyes. Yi Luotian didn't expect that Xiao Yan in front of him was really like what those guys said. His combat power was far better than cultivation. No one at the same level could be his opponent. It seems that Xiao Yan relied on more than luck in the first battle of Ancient Relic. With this in mind, Yi Luotian slowly lost behind him, the palm under the sleeve robe gradually grasped the claw, and the dry yellow fighting spirit quietly emerged on the fingertips. At the moment when the 6 people died in the black aperture, the killing intention appeared in Yi Luotian's eyes. Then the next moment, his body suspended in the void suddenly disappeared. Almost at the same time, a dry claw grabbed Xiao Yang's brain bag in front of Xiao Yang. At the next moment, when Yi Luotian's claws were about to fall on Xiao Yang's head, the invisible void was suddenly torn apart. In a moment, a slender jade hand was stretched out from the void. The jade hand spun and blasted forward, and blasted with Yi Luotian's claws. In an instant, Yi Luotian's look on his old face changed wildly, and his thin body immediately retreated out of control. After hundreds of steps backward, his body stood on the void. The moment he looked up, his old face was full of a look of horror. In the void, Yi Luotian's old face turned red, because the blow just now made the qi and blood in Yi Luotian's celestial body churn violently, and a smell of fishy sweetness poured into his throat. The whole person's heart was incomparably shocked. Yi Luotian was extremely dignified in his heart, raised his eyes, and stared at the other 100 feet away. The woman who leisurely appeared in front of Xiao Yang, dressed in a long white dress and cold face. This woman is the overlord of Shaolin Mountains, Cold Frost. After 5 years of isolation, the Cold Frost finally woke up from a long sleep. Unlike Xiao Yang, the cold poison in Cold Frost has accumulated for 100 years. The cold poison is so deep that it has almost infected the origin of Cold Frost. Even with the help of Hui Bodhisattva, it is not so easy to expel all of it. However, in this 5-year period, with its own strong strength and the help of Hui Bodhisattva, Cold Frost has finally uprooted the cold poison and completely removed it from its own body. Now, the strength of Cold Frost has not only recovered to its peak, but also surpassed the past after refining those cold poisons. Although cold poison is terrible, its energy is also extremely huge. Being able to control it is undoubtedly of great benefit to its cultivation. At this time, Xiao Yang also recovered from the shock at that moment. At that moment, he even felt a breath of death. The strength of Yi Luotian far exceeded his expectation. If it weren't for the Cold Frost, I'm afraid Xiao Yang would have been buried in Yi Luotian's hands. The moment he looked up, Xiao Yang saw the Cold Frost close at hand. Looking at the graceful back of the woman in front of him, Xiao Yang couldn't help but flash a moment of reverie in his heart, but in the twinkling of an eye, he came back to his mind. He breathed a long sigh of relief in his heart, raised his sleeves and wiped away the cold sweat on his forehead. "Thank you." Hearing the words of thanks from the back of the body, the Cold Frost's beautiful eyes glanced slightly, and the rest of the corner of the eye looked at the latter. Immediately, there was a low hum between the Qiao nose, and the corners of the lips were also imperceptible. Then, the expression on the Cold Frost's pretty face converged again. A pair of Senhan's eyes slowly raised, and the cold eyes shot straight at the opposite leaf-falling sky like an arrow. That kind of eyes seemed to freeze each other into ice. Feeling the cold eyes from the opposite side, Yi Luotian felt a little chilly in his heart. The muscles in the corners of his eyes could not help trembling. Then he raised his eyes and looked at each other. A pair of shadowy old eyes stared at the white-skirt woman opposite. After a good film, Yi Luotian forced down the surging blood in his body, took a deep breath, hugged the woman, arched his hands, bent slightly and said, "I don't know who you are. If it has nothing to do with this matter, I hope you can leave. I don't want to involve irrelevant people in this matter." It was only a blow, but Yi Luotian felt that the woman in front of him was terrible. In the western regions, those who could beat him back with one hand could count with one hand. For those people, he knew something in his heart, but never a guy like the woman in front of him could reach such a terrible situation. "Get out." However, what Yi Luotian said in return was a cold rebuke full of killing intent. As soon as he said this, Yi Luotian's face suddenly sank. As one of the few strong men in the western regions, he had never been so abused. Even the patriarch of the 3 sects could not act so recklessly in front of him. In front of him, this woman was a little overbearing. "Your Excellency. Don't let me say it a 3rd time, or you'll stay here." Yi Luotian just wanted to speak, but Lung Bingshuang raised his eyes with a pretty face. A pair of beautiful eyes stared at each other without emotion. In the depths of his pupils, the ice-blue light flashed past. After a while, Yi Luotian's heart was suddenly cold, and a deep sense of fear grew up uncontrollably from the bottom of his heart. This woman. Yi Luotian's eyes suddenly opened, his eyes were round, and he wanted to jump out of his eyes. The shock in his heart was unparalleled. With the look in his eyes just now, he could be sure that the strength of the woman in front of him was definitely far above him. Source environment. These 3 words came out of my heart involuntarily, and a cold sweat burst out from Yi Luotian's whole body. I also quickly remembered some information in my mind. Looking at the western regions, there are no strong people in Huayuanjing. In his impression, there are 3, 2 of whom are still famous although they have not appeared for many years. As for the 3rd, as far as he knew, it was a woman. However, no one in the whole western regions had ever seen her face. He thought that the strong man might have been hidden or died, but he didn't expect to appear in this boundless mountain range. A moment later, Yi Luotian seemed to be suddenly frightened, and he didn't dare to lift his head. He quickly turned and retreated. The symbol of escape was that he quickly swept away outside the Shalin Mountains. In situ, Cold Frost was staring at Yi Luotian's departure from a distance with a pair of cold eyes. A moment later, his eyes turned and looked at the people behind him. What happened before can be written off, but now you owe me again. Cold Frost stared at Xiao Yang in front of her eyes and opened her mouth indifferently. Hearing this, Xiao Yang couldn't help but be slightly stunned. Although the latter's words still sound so cold, they seem to be much different from before. This makes Xiao Yang feel strange in his heart. How do you want me to pay it back? In the twinkling of an eye, Xiao Yang raised his eyes. His dark and calm eyes were like a deep pool, staring at the Cold Frost in front of him. Looking at each other, Xiao Yang asked with a smile. As soon as he said this, the 4 Tianying people behind him and Bai Ying couldn't help but be surprised. The 3 brothers of Tianying are fine, but Bao and Bai Ying at the moment are extremely shocked. They have seen this woman's terror with their own eyes just now. Although they have not made a move, they can scare away the leader of Withered Leaf Sect, one of the 4 major sects, by this momentum alone. How can ordinary people do it? But that's it. Xiao Yang can laugh loudly in the face of her indifferent words. This party is really incredible. However, when both Bao and Bai Ying thought that Lung Bingshuang might be angry about it, Lung Bingshuang turned around and said angrily, I haven't thought about it yet, but sooner or later, I must ask you to return it. Sure. A smile appeared on Xiao Yang's cheek and nodded in a positive tone. Watching the Cold Frost leave, a long time later, the crawling body of Tianying and others slowly stood up, looked at the direction of Cold Frost leaving, and looked at Xiao Yang. The brothers looked at each other and smiled, with some inexplicable meaning in their smiles. On one side, Bai Ying also looked at the direction of Lung Bingshuang's departure. He felt thoughtful and surprised at the same time. Taking back his eyes, Xiao Yang turned his eyes and fell on the Tianying 4. In front of the 4 people, Xiao Yang checked the injuries in Xiong Gang and Yang Lion. When he saw that they were getting better, he was secretly relieved at the bottom of his heart. Although the Withered Leaf GU of Yi Luotian is not a real 4th order pill, it also has a very significant effect on recovering the injury. If the usage is not too extreme, it may really be used as a substitute for the 4th order pill. Moreover, it can improve the terrorist ability of the cultivator. Even Xiao Yang is very surprised. This time, if he didn't have a strange fire to protect himself and break the dead leaf grass in the dead leaf insects for Tianying and others, I'm afraid they would become a sharp weapon used by Yi Luotian to threaten themselves. Brother Xiao Yang, should they be all right? Tianying frowned and looked at the 2 people who were sober, but their faces were white. They were still worried and asked Xiao Yang softly, It's almost all right. Next, as long as it recovers for a period of time, with the help of pills, it should be all right. Hearing Xiao Yang's words, Tianying nodded reassuringly and smiled at the leopard on one side. Virtually, the relationship between the 4 people was close again. If there is still a thin barrier between Bao and the 3 brothers of Tianying before this, the 4 people will be completely united through this matter. At the critical moment, Bao's coming forward made the 3 brothers really recognize the existence of a Bao in their hearts. From now on, the people who guard Shalin Mountains together will no longer be 3, but 4. Hehe, I want to thank Mr. Xiao Yang for being promoted to the 5-star fighting emperor this time. On one side, Bai Ying also came forward with a smile, arched his hands politely at Xiao Yang, bent slightly, and his tone was full of flattery. Hearing the speech, Xiao Yang quickly flashed a touch of pure light in the depths of his eyes, and raised a smile at the corners of his mouth, saying, Master Bai, you and I have a cooperative relationship. This matter is regarded as paying back your favor for me in Hanshi City. Now, we don't owe each other. When we meet in the future, it depends on our respective positions. Hearing the speech, Bai Ying was stunned. Xiao Yang made it clear that he wanted to draw a line with him. Doing so has both advantages and disadvantages for his white family. The 2 sides are indifferent to each other, which undoubtedly gives Bai Ying a perfect set of words after he goes back. At that time, as long as he puts all the blame on Xiao Yang, The senior management of Tianjian Gate can't bear him. He can also worsen the relationship between Tianjian Gate and Xiao Yang. Once there is a war between the two sides in the future, his white family will casually find an excuse to stand aside, sit on the mountain and watch the tiger and reap its benefits. Isn't it happy? As long as it is not a positive conflict with Xiao Yang, he can't attack his Bai family. But in addition, the Shilin Mountains encircled and suppressed Xiao Yang. In the end, except by Jiabai 1, everyone else fell here, which will inevitably arouse the suspicion of the top management of Tianjianmen. I'm afraid he can't do anything in the Bai family for a period of time in the future. As for the existence of cold frost, Bai Ying doesn't intend to say it. It's really necessary to calculate that the emergence of cold frost is due to the relationship between Yi Luotian. Once the cold frost is given out, in case Yi Luotian is involved at that time, find out the cause of death of the four families. At that time, no matter how Tianjianmen will consider his Bai family, at least withered leaf sect, I'm afraid it will not easily let them go. Yi Luotian's insidious nature before, he still has lingering fear in retrospect. It's not hard to imagine how miserable it would be if the white family behind him let Yi Luotian keep an eye on him. Haha, but brother Xiao Yang, you're really amazing. It's only 5 years. You jumped from 6-star-and-a-half emperor to 5-star fighting emperor. I'm afraid you're unique in the whole Yuanwu continent with such a fast cultivation speed. Brother Tianying praised me. I was just a fluke. I broke through the 4-star fighting emperor. I just didn't expect that the dead leaf GU of Yi Luotian could help me break another star. Xiao Yang smiled, but at the end of the words, there was a hint of ridicule. Yi Luotian wanted to manipulate Xiao Yang and others through the dead leaf GU, but he couldn't think. In the end, he couldn't steal the chicken and erode the rice. He not only failed to control Xiao Yang, but also helped him improve his strength again. This is just sending warmth. At this time, Bai Ying also recovered and looked up, but he saw that Xiao Yang was chatting with Tianying and others. Seeing Xiao Yang's warm smile, Bai Ying was stunned. After a few breaths, he turned into a silent sigh and made a faint sound at the bottom of his heart. Xiao Yang's cultivation talent is indeed unparalleled in the world. Bai Ying has lived for so many years. He has never seen or heard of many things on the mainland, but he has never heard of such a terrible person with cultivation talent. Over time, Xiao Yang in front of him will become a strong generation. The so-called Tianjua Master and the legend of the Western region will sooner or later become a stepping stone on Xiao Yang's growth path. The future of this young man in black is destined to release more dazzling brilliance than now. It's just a pity that they are not the same people from the beginning. Xiao Yang is a passerby on Bai Zhon's growth path. Bai Zhon is a witness on Xiao Yang's strong road. In any way, the two people are incomparable. Bai Ying did not look down on his son. This is indeed an indisputable fact. Brother Xiao Yang, do you have any plans next? Looking back, Tianying asked Xiao Yang again. Hearing this, Xiao Yang first gave a slight meal, then glanced lightly to Bai Ying, grinning. Why, isn't Master Bai going to leave now? Ah! Bai Ying was stunned. Then he reacted, hugged Xiao Yang and said with a smile. Since Mr. Xiao Yang has no intention of keeping people, I'll leave now. When the voice fell, Bai Ying turned around without hesitation and flew away quickly beyond the Shilin Mountains. Seeing Bai Ying leave, Xiao Yang took back his dark eyes. For Bai Ying, although Xiao Yang didn't regard him as an enemy, he also knew that people like him had to be prevented. In a way, Bai Ying's existence is not inferior to any of the four clans, but his way of doing things is really different. Brother Tianying, if I remember well, you seem to have told me that in Tianjua ancient tomb, there is something more valuable than the cultivation inheritance of Master Tianjua, right? The sudden change of Xiao Yang's conversation also made Tianying a little stunned. Immediately, he returned to his mind, nodded after a little meditation, looked at Xiao Yang in front of him and said, Yes, I remember you asked me specifically at that time. The name of that volume of Kung Fu was called Gyuanju. This video will end here.